All right, fantastic. I can't believe it. We're at episode 6 of the Investor Circle already, and we have the amazing Rui Falcao joining us. Thanks, Rui, for being here today. It's wonderful. You know, it's been a while since we had breakfast together when I was last in Lisbon, and I know you're expanding Core Angels and stuff, so it's a great opportunity to just find out what it's all about. So please tell us, how does Core Angels work? How does this model that you've put together find its way to give investment to startups?
Okay, so Core Angel is a network or a community of angel funds that invest in pre-seed and seed startups. And we are creating a community that now we have 11 angel funds around the world. And this is the possibility we have a better observation of the startups, a better selection of the startups, and also an opportunity for the startups to be invested by a local fund, but with some international expansion. So this is interesting for the entrepreneurs because they can apply to a fund that is already in different places, and interesting also for the angels that can have access to different startups by far from their region. So and they can do cross-border investments. And another thing that we have in Core Angels, we are not a venture fund, so we are an angel fund. And what characterizes this is that we put some know-how, some hands-on on each deal. So for us, the entrepreneur matters in the process. So we are not just financial managers. We add on with smart money, with involvement, with the entrepreneur to build the journey together.
And I think from the way we discussed this before, this is part of the special sauce, the secret sauce of Core Angels, right? So if I come to you for investment, how does it work? Could you explain to people the sort of the approach people take and then the championing that somebody does within the organization to make it? I think it's called the Archangel, right?
Yeah, we have, well, what we are looking is to professionalize angel investing. From the beginning, angel investing was a very amateur thing, was a hobbyist type kind of job.
A very expensive hobby, right?
Very expensive for the beginners, because there are many problems that can occur during the startup. And if you are not advised, you can commit, as an investor, commit several mistakes. And also you have certain type of expectations that maybe are not well framed. So the process of startup, of how we find the startups, we have a process that we listen. We identify from every 2 months, from 50 startups, we pre-select 10, we speak with those of 10, and after we have an investment committee where we identify the best ones, and we go to the investment committee with 3 startups from a selection of 50. So we have a detailed process and careful with identifying where are the best opportunities. Yeah. And this is in the process of selection. After the process of investment, when we decide investment, then we have what we call the post-investment group. And this is one of the groups inside our angel group. We have 4 angel groups inside. So the post-investment group, we call the group of the archangels. So what is an archangel? The archangel is someone from the angels that takes care, looks, being involved with that specific startup. And we try from the group to identify an angel that startup prefers to be mentored by a certain person of the group. And this is important for alignment. So you can select a person, the entrepreneurs can select a person that is more aligned with their interests, and select, if you are in a certain area, on food tech, for example. There is someone in the angels more focused on food tech, then you can have that type of support. So maybe sometimes it's not only the industry support, but it can be the financial support or marketing or someone that in a certain cases could add value to the startup. And this is the most important thing. We see angel investing as a co-creation of value with entrepreneurs. So we are not considering only on ourselves, the investors. We are thinking how we together, the angels and entrepreneurs, can co-create the best value for the startup. That's how we work.
It's a great philosophy. And I guess my first question for you really is then, how much does personality come into the decision-making process? The personality of the founder and the personality of the angels that are making the decision. How much kind of empathy or empathia is there between them, or does personality not count for anything in the decision?
Yes, it's a very good question. It's a hard question because do you know, we have when an angel comes to Core Angels, we have a certain type of good practices or investing rules or suggestions. But of course, this also depends of the characteristics of the investor too. So and the angels are very diverse. Even when we work in a group like Core Angels, we are different from the normal syndicates because we work as a group and we invest as a group. So we invest all together to create a common portfolio. And we, because of this process, I think we look like for a kind of collective intelligence or collective selection, because in our process, we have one person, one vote. So if we have a majority of comfort in the decision, that means more than 50% of votes yes, and less than 33% of votes no, altogether we are going to vote. So the characteristics of the preferences of the individual investors are in a certain way put it together, and the decision is being done as a collective decision. And the individual personality of the entrepreneurs can impact differently in different angels, but because of that, maybe we have a better proof of validation of the startup. So if one entrepreneur comes to a group of people that collectively decides, okay, this is a good startup to invest, then we invest, and this is good also for the entrepreneur to have a perspective that better than an individual's commitment.
Okay, so it's like the investment committee is a collective vote to decide, and I guess what you're saying there is that you're normalizing for behaviors between all the different angels by sort of, if everybody has to vote and it has to carry, then hopefully any personality clashes or issues have gone away, because not everybody can be upset at the same time, right? But does it really actually reduce the efficacy of it all, because you can only do things that everybody will accept or the majority will accept?
For one side, yes. So this is a form of validation, but internally we have also another rule on top of this rule that is the collective investment. If me personally, I like very much of that startup, I have the possibility to put more money on the top of the money of the group. Imagine that I see a future on that startup, and I like it very much, and I like the entrepreneur, and I see there is a fit with my interest on that startup. And so I can, the group has the possibility that you as an individual investor to invest more on top of the group investment, and you can have a direct relation with the startup and eventually propose yourself to be an archangel of that startup and being involved and let go the journey and see for the future. We have already some cases where the team is not completed, was not completed in a startup, and they were looking for people to complete the team. And one of the angels that was looking also for an involvement with the startup, and there was a match, and he could be involved with that startup too, in a more direct way. So we have those possibilities on the top of the investment of the group to invest individually and have a more close relation with the startup.
Kind of like betting behind the cards on a blackjack table, right? With the players there at the table doing the hand, and then somebody from behind plays the money behind their cards. It's interesting. Okay, so in terms of the model, then you say they're funds, right? So is this 14 syndicated funds, of these SPVs? What's the vehicle that you use to invest?
Oh yeah, they can vary in a certain geographies. We try to not be a very complex thing in terms of bureaucracy, but at the same time we try to identify some advantage of organization according with certain geographies. So the important thing is to guarantee that the process is simple. The process of investment is simple, is fast, so entrepreneurs don't have to wait more than 2 months or waiting for a process when they begin until they have the money there. We try this to be a relatively fast process, and in terms of organization, we think this is important to the process to be optimized. Yeah, so we look for each group, in fact, is independent of the other groups. So the organization of each group is independent in the way they look for the best and most attractive way of investing. For example, taxes. If being a venture firm is relevant for that aspect, then groups can consider to be organized on that way. But if it's simpler to have just a SPV, a normal vehicle, then they can do it on that administrative way.
Okay, fantastic. I obviously know some of the angels in the Lisbon Core Angels group and a few of the other ones, but what's the furthest extremes? How far has Core Angels now reached around the world?
Well, we have that passion also, that mission to professionalize angel investing, and also to give leaders, angel leaders, the possibility to do that. I think entrepreneurship for many people is much more than a profession in a strict sense of what a profession is. Many times is your life. You dedicate your life to something that you believe, and you have entrepreneurship as a way of living in a certain way, as something that you dedicate. David Rose, for example, the founder of New York Angels, speaks about the ethos of the entrepreneurship. It's when you are an entrepreneur, you are always an entrepreneur, and you want to continue that process, that create the startups, your own startups. After, if you have lucky enough to make the startups grow and have some exits, then you feel you are in a position to giving back to society, giving back to other entrepreneurs, and so you feel that maybe your knowledge, your history, what you have done may be useful for other people, and you feel with that obligation to giving back, to contribute, and because of that, we created a model that is good for first-time angels, for people that want to create this type of impact in their region. And also we know that the ecosystems cannot be developed if they don't have the investors. So we need entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs must lead the ecosystem, must lead. They are the center. The entrepreneurs are the center of the dynamic. But the investors are an important pillar. And we give that possibility to organize the angel investing in a more professional way, so we can help to improve the local ecosystems in a different way of organization of the angel investing. That is good for the angel experience, and that is good for the entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Rui. Thanks. Now, obviously, you're the godfather of Core Angels, and I know you've done a PhD thesis on how investors make their decisions as well. But, can you help everybody understand what's your background? What makes you awesome at this kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. Well, very, very simple. Now, I was an entrepreneur, a lucky, very lucky entrepreneur in a certain way, because after university, I decided to create my startup. And after 8 years, I sold my startup to a big telecommunications group. I earned some money on that. And after I began the angel investing process. But during this way of being an entrepreneur, I was connected with people that changed my mind in the way they were believers that entrepreneurship could change the world. And entrepreneurship was impacting our country. And in fact, some of those people connected to the associations, the Young Entrepreneurs Associations and others, had some contribution for the public policies to develop entrepreneurship. And when I look backwards and I look 30 years for what it was Portugal 30 years ago, and we can see the impact of entrepreneurship when we see that we have more than 100 incubators in different small cities, and we have 8 unicorns coming to 9, and we see some mobilization of the country to create a culture of entrepreneurship. We see this is really interesting, and we can see this as a kind of mission that we are lucky to work on the field that we like to, and also that gives us as a responsibility to know more, to learn more. I have learned it in a practical way, being an entrepreneur, but at a certain time, just for fun, just to know more, I decided at the 47 years old, begin the PhD, and for my necessity and knowing more and for fun. And it was a great experience that I recommend to everyone that likes to know more and continue learning for all your life. Yeah.
Can we get a copy of that PhD thesis yet?
Yeah, now we are beginning to publish. So now we have the first papers published, and now we can proceed with that. Yes.
Amazing. I'll look out for that one. Look forward to the read. And as you know, I lecture in entrepreneurship at Falmouth University, so very interested to pick up a publication like that and see what we can do with it.
One thing that is interesting is, the practice is faster than the theory and the academy. So things in the market go faster, and there is a delay between what the mindset of the academics and the practitioners, and what I realized that we need more people and we need more work on closing these two worlds, getting closer these two worlds. So it's important that academics can understand how we do things, and also we can benefit from the structure thoughts of doing things to create more knowledge. So I believe on that, and it was very funny to try to put these two worlds together.
And I think you did that between the University of Aveiro and university in the US as well, right? So it was a combination. Which university was it in the US?
It was with Mr. Henry Sapienza, that was a professor of Minnesota University, but he was one of the founders of the the added value proposition, the variable, the added value. How do venture capitalists add value to the startup? So this is the thing that, besides the money, on top of the money, how can we add value with these startups? And this is the biggest challenge for me, for the business angels, to create value for whom? For the society, for the entrepreneurs, for the angels, and how can we measure that, and how can we contribute to co-create that value? This is a fundamental topic.
So I've got about 400 questions I want to ask you, but for time, I'm only going to ask you two, okay? So the first one is, what influence do you perceive that Web Summit has had on Lisbon, on Portugal, on the ecosystem for entrepreneurship?
You know, Web Summit, it's a great event, and for me, it's the dynamic that pushes the culture. So it's interesting, very interesting to go there and participate. It's like going to a massive manifestation, and it's like, I don't know, it's like going to the church, because you go there and you feel the motivation, you feel that other people can do, and you have the leaders and the heroes, that people that begin like you and have the possibility to make huge startups, and they tell you very easily how they did it. It's hard, so people cannot think that being an entrepreneur and creating a company, it's something that happens by miracle. It's very hard. A lot, but at least you see the possibilities, and it's a phenomenal, a fantastic thing that all that people that can easily, you can approach them, speak with them, and tell the story, share the story, makes you believe more in you, makes you believe that you can do it also yourself. And I think that impact of open your mind to other possibilities, open your mind to know different innovation, different things, and sharing the process, how to do that. It's amazing. So I really like those type of events, with many other events that smaller events are also important. But I think if you have this combination of this multitude of people, diversity, with other type of events, when you can has time to one-on-one to speak with an investor, to speak with an entrepreneur, sharing the stories, and learning with each other. This is great.
I'm certainly looking forward to being there in November again, but I agree with you. It's such a big show. It's like 27 conferences all happening at the same time, right? And you can't possibly see everything you want to. And it's just incredible. So my last question for you today, Rui, and thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute privilege to have you here. I wonder if you could give some advice to the first-time founders watching this. What's your best advice with all the experience you have as an entrepreneur, watching all these investments going through Core Angels? What do you suggest that they do?
Okay. Well, I think you need to be coherent with your own story. So the first thing, I think, for an entrepreneur is that you should look for the project that makes sense for you, create meaning for you. So if you have that, you have, because you believe on that, this is a very powerful motivation, that you need that motivation across the road. There will be tough moments when it will not be easy to proceed. But if you are in a conviction, a strong conviction that you are doing what you really born to do, what you really need to do, this is very powerful. Another thing is study a little bit of the investors that you are going to speak with. I think this is important. Try to understand who they are, their motivations, what are their preferences, what are their targets, and this is important. And third, I think, is the way to be there, the story to tell, the path, and people. The best thing, the best quality for me of the entrepreneur is the capacity of being a doer. So even if you are in a seed phase, you already did something. Even if, tell your story, tell your small victory. What have you already done? Because if we see there is a growing process, then it's important that you can tell that story, that you are in a way that you are growing, that you are doing this and after that and after that, and you have a path, and you have been done all of that. So, and if you are able to tell that story, that is the most important. And entrepreneurs are normally coherent with themselves, and investors understand that and like that.
Wonderful insights, Rui. Thank you so much for making time for this series today. Episode 6, but my goodness, what a load of insights. I think we should maybe move you past Greg into episode 1 so that everybody watches it first, because these kind of things, this experience that you're bringing is incredibly valuable. And if you're a first-time founder watching this, I hope you rewind that section 10 or 15 times and just kind of take it all on board. Rui, it's a privilege to know you. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you, Stewart, for being a leader and having this fantastic work you have been doing, creating the community, and also sharing all the knowledge from each other and sharing that for all the community. Fantastic work. Thank you, Stewart.
Thank you, Rui.